Hello everyone. Today I'm just going to go over some of the knives I have in my collection. I use maybe half of them might just sit in a drawer. But if you're researching some utility cutters or perhaps a folding camping knife or maybe an out the front knife, I'm just going to try to give you some feedback on what I've learned after purchasing and using most of these. So, okay, obviously you got your cheap slide out utility cutters. You want to have a knife that has a lock on it. This one has a twist lock, so it can't, inadvertently shut and close and hurt yourself. I remember as a kid, I had a Swiss Army knife, and it didn't have a blade lock, and the blade literally collapsed on my finger and cut my finger. So you should always buy a knife that has a lock on it. Okay. So utility knives, on AliExpress is where I got these three. These are titanium utility knives, and they have an interesting design where you'll see this little round thing. It locks into these round recesses. So there's a little spring underneath this button, and you slide it to the indentations. So it's a pretty strong blade, and you can replace these blades. These blades are quite thick here, compared to your standard smaller utility knife. The thickness of the blade. I believe these blades are by Olfa, so they're high quality, and they're so big you can actually resharpen them. So not bad, these knives here, these titanium knives. Some of them you can have an option to choose what blade type you want. This curved one, it's kind of neat. A lot of them have recesses if you want to put tritium vials in there. Tritium is a material that glows for 10-20 years, so you never need a flashlight. This one has a lot of vials, but those vials are expensive, so I haven't done it on this one. But this one's from District 9. Pretty cool. Big fan. I replaced the bolts with some titanium rainbow colored bolts. Maybe someday I'll add some tritium vials in this. That not there, but maybe here. And here you can. The slide action though isn't so great on these three titanium knives compared to camping type knives or out the front knives. But as you can see, it's still doable. Okay. Speaking of camping knives, this is an old one, an old Benchmade from the 90s. It's had some use, I actually took it camping, whittled wood, did standard stuff. This is a CQC7, I think. Yeah, but you can't, I don't know if you can buy this anymore. But since the 90s, knives have become a lot stronger. You'll notice the side plates, I forget what they're called. They're very thin. The knife blade itself is very thin compared to more modern knives from, this is a ZT0302. Yeah. So this flipper knife, such a smooth action on this thing. So I bought this a long time ago as well, and I kept it because it is so nice. You have this toggle here, you just flip this. But the old school knives, you have to flip it and flick it with your wrist or whatnot to open. So the blade lock on this older technology knife is very thin, compared to this, the thickness of that blade lock. This, I suppose if you torque on it enough, it can collapse on you maybe. Tough to say. But I really don't have any doubts that this is going to stay a nice rigid knife. Right? So, anyways. So, that's the feedback there. Try to get one with a nice, strong, thick blade lock. And maybe a thick blade. If you want a really thick blade, I suppose, I kept this knife from a long time ago. There's a Strider BT, and that is some seriously heavy-duty knife action. If I guess you needed to, you can tie it to the end of a tree branch and use it as a spear. I actually swam with this in the ocean, that's why it's a little rusted. I have a paranoia of sharks. I have seen a shark swimming. They're exceptionally fast creatures in the water, so granted, I'm pretty sure if a shark wants to take a bite out of me, no knife is gonna protect me because they're so fast. But mental stability, I suppose. Anyways, I never use this anymore. Okay, so some out the front knives. It's a Microtech, a small one. Great action. Microtechs are expensive, but this is a knife I've kept for a long time, over 10 years. Same with this one. I never use this or carry this. It's huge. You know, it's unnecessarily large for my uses. I'm not a, government official. I'm not in the police or fire or emergency services. I'm a desk jockey, so most of the knives I just cut boxes with, to be honest with you. I just think knives are cool. Spyderco, they make these H1 blades, which are meant for, it's a type of stainless steel. And so if you do want to swim in the ocean, do some snorkeling or whatnot, I find this H1 steel to be quite rust resistant. It's not 100% rust proof, but it doesn't rust as quickly as other knife blade materials. Okay. On AliExpress, there's a brand called Grow, and I bought this just because I thought it looked cool. And some feedback, unfortunately, is this is a poorly designed knife for this particular model, which is the EF917. If you look it up, online, this is actually supposed to have some material over here. So, in fact, if I take this material goes all the way up here originally. But you'll see the flipper, when you have so much material taking up, there's not enough material to flip it with your fingertip. So I took a Dremel and I dremeled out all this material so I could expose more of the flipper knob here, the flipper toggle. So now I can flip it nicely because there's a lot of material to flick it with. But beforehand, I would have to flick the whole knife with my wrist in order to do it. So if you're going to go with a flipper knife, make sure you see one with a decent amount of material sticking out of the back. This ZT, there's a lot of material sticking out the back, so you can actually grip it with your fingertips and hence flip it out. But for this particular EF917, unless you're going to modify it like I did, I wouldn't recommend you buy this particular model. But this is an inexpensive knife, and it's quite nicely built. It's a thick blade. Although, the knife lock itself is relatively thin. So I wouldn't go about in a life-threatening situation carrying a knife from this brand, but if you're gonna cut some fruit, I think you'll survive. Okay. All right. Standard Leatherman. This thing's decades old. I never use it. I think someone gave this to me for free as a freebie from work or something a long time ago. Okay. But basically, everyday carry knives are what I'm into. With the whole COVID and just modern life, you have to carry soap and antibacterial wipes. You pretty much have to carry a purse, a man purse nowadays. And so I guess I have room to carry a small knife. I've had to open up boxes and stuff outside of my home. So this is a survival knife. I forget who makes it. FIS? I don't know. I kept it because it's a quality knife. I have no doubt that I don't think this would break because the blade is so short relative to how thick the metal is. So it's a good knife, but I don't really ever use it, to be honest with you. It's a cheap eBay type of knife. I don't use it. Again, there's no blade lock. If you actually tried to press down on something, I'm pretty sure this will close on your finger, just like that Swiss Army knife did when I was a kid. So this just sits in the bottom of a drawer. Too dangerous to give away. These slide-out X-Acto blade knives are pretty cool. This is a titanium one, but unfortunately this one doesn't have an effective lock. So I think that's a magnet back there. Actually, maybe, I'm not sure, to be honest with you, but it doesn't really lock in place, So this is a dangerous knife I never use. And I blued it. It was just plain gray titanium, but I took a blowtorch to it to blue it a little bit, since I really don't care about it anyways. So again, it looks cool. It's light, could go on a keychain, but the last thing you want to do is have an X-Acto blade fall out on your pocket and cut you as you're walking. So this particular style of knife, if you find it online, I would avoid it. But this one is good. You know, this is titanium also, and I took the blowtorch to it. What's good about this one is you can adjust the tension of the knife lock here with this little dial here, and it has the spring loaded, so it can go into these notches on the back, so you can actually hear it click into its locking location. And then if you really want to, you could tighten this down, and there's just no way that knife blade is going to collapse on you. So if you see this online, this is definitely worth the money. And then I added some tritium vials in there as well. So what's nice about these X-Acto ones is you can unscrew them and you can replace them with a number 11 X-Acto blade, or hobby blade, a number 11 hobby blade, if you want to go generic. Alright, so that one's definitely cool. I leave it on my man purse, one of my man purses. Alright, so now box cutting. You know, these literally are box cutters, but you know, it's just I don't need to whip out a blade this long to cut open boxes. I'm just trying to get through the tape to open a box. So if I do use this, I only extend that much of its blade, but I don't cut 100 boxes at a time. Maybe I'll cut 5. So I'm actually pretty happy with these little keychain knives you can find online. So this is a titanium blade. I thought it looked cool, but unfortunately titanium doesn't keep an edge very well. So I don't know. I sharpen it with a diamond honing rod, which is why you don't see the titanium bluing there from heat treatment. But I don't know. I would avoid this. It looks cool, but functionally, it won't keep its edge very long. These Damascus blades, though, are better at keeping their edge. Although the shape of this one isn't really conducive to cutting open the tape of a box. It is cute though. It's kind of cool, and it's cheap, you know. So this is my favorite knife that I actually use the most out of all of these knives. I use this thing the most. I can pierce a box right at this corner here, and I don't think I've ever had to sharpen this in the like 1 year that I've been using it. So it's quite good for the money. I mean, it's ridiculously small. Its only purpose would be to cut boxes, or perhaps if you're cooking for a mouse, you can maybe cut a pea or a walnut. Alright, so anyways, one last knife actually on my wallet. I try to keep a small wallet, and this is just a cheap knife again because I've had to cut tape on the fly. There's no lock on it though, but I'm not particularly worried about this knife blade closing on my finger because it is smaller than my fingertip, so I haven't had too much worries about it, but I've used it a few times. Alright, random note on wallets, you know, if you want a small wallet, I found this on AliExpress. Doesn't keep large bills very well. It's not very long, but it has this little pocket here, and I put a little nano bag in there for shopping because most places don't give you bags anymore, right? So man purse, or in this case this miniature wallet, I can keep a little shopping bag in my wallet. You don't have to look like a moron carrying like 5 bottles of condiments without a bag. Alright, anyway, so that's what I got for knives here, and we'll see you later. Bye.